recording. Oh, perfect. So again, welcome everybody. Welcome Valerie, welcome Jan, Janelle, welcome Jenny, welcome Mary. So good to see everyone. So once again, our focus tonight, we got to the top of our body last week, to our head, our neck, our hands, our arms. So we're starting back over with our feet. Couple of different ways to do the feet, just like barefoot, the beginning of the barefoot class where Rochelle does the barefoot foot massage. You can use your hands for all of that, or we can start with the ball. So if you'd like to start with the ball, go ahead, come on up, stand up. It works best if you stand up, but you could also sit in a chair. Sitting in the chair works. We'll just bring the ball under one foot and maybe just start kind of lightly rolling the foot back and forth. Just kind of checking out, seeing how your foot feels. Now, if you prefer not to use the ball, you can use your hands the whole time. Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll spend about 3 minutes on each foot with the ball, and then we'll do about 3 minutes on each foot using our hands. So you can use a hand the whole time or the ball the whole time. As you just kind of check out the tenderness of the foot, then you can start to press a little harder. Really thinking about pressing down into the ball as you kind of roll. I tend to stay mostly in the arch of the foot. That's where I feel like I get the best work. But you can bring it under the heel. Just kind of mash up and down in the heel. Sometimes that ball will run away from you. The heel a bit. You can also get up into the toes. But again, I just personally, for me, I find that I get the best use of the ball kind of in the arch of the foot. So playing around with that a bit, seeing what works for you. Welcome, Kathy. Welcome, Jenny. Welcome, Lindsay. Welcome, Erin. Welcome, Valerie. There's Jan. Welcome. We got Valerie M and Valerie S. Welcome both. And then I also like to take the ball just kind of right in the center and do that little twisting action. Press in and just rotate. What that does is takes kind of those outer layers of tissue, kind of skin and outer layers of fascia, and just massages them into the deeper layers. This also can help really develop the arch, keep it strong, great for plantar fascia. Although I will always say if you have a flare of plantar fascia, sometimes this can be a little too intense. So you might choose to sit in a chair and roll a little bit softer if you're kind of right in the middle of a flare. But massaging the feet actually does help release other areas of our body as well. The whole interconnectedness. Okay, so spend about another minute on this foot. Around. You can really work on that deep pressure, really pressing into the ball. A little more on the inside, but kind of rotating the foot in, inside of the arch, more maybe on the outside of the arch. Welcome, Fran. So it's feet and calves tonight, Fran. We're going to use the ball and our hands on our feet. So you can always stand or sit in a chair for this portion. And then also those of you that are coming in, where you can skip using the ball on your feet, you can do just your typical barefoot massage that we do at the beginning of the barefoot conditioning class. However, if you are using the ball, let's go ahead and switch to the other side, maybe pausing for a minute to stand on the foot that you just rolled versus the foot that you didn't. That's where I always notice, it's like, oh, feels so good. And then we'll switch over to the second foot or continue to use your hands, whatever works best for you. Again, start a little more gently on the second foot, especially if you know that it's tight or it's been bothering you. And then you can start to work a little deeper. So going back and forth. I tend to kind of roll, push hard and roll from the top of my foot to the heel. And then I just kind of lighten and start over. Press hard, lighten and start over. You don't have to do it that way. It's just kind of a technique that works for me. Always hold on as well. Balance. And then maybe taking some twisting action. So those of you just coming in, we are working feet, calves, shins tonight. back to the bottom of the lower part of our body. Again, always feel free in this class to roll any part of your body that you like. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat box so that I can do my best to answer them for you. Just a little more deeply. Maybe working a little more on the inner arch and or the outer arch. Giving a little extra attention to the places that feel like it needs it the most. Remembering that kind of scale of sensation. So if something feels like a 9 or a 10, where it's like, oh, just really taking your breath away, intense, try to move to a little bit different area because the whole body's interconnected. So sometimes rolling on the most intense place is not what's best for the body. If you move a little bit where you're looking kind of maybe a sensation of a 5 to 8, then that loosening will help loosen that areas that were maybe 9 or 10s. So we're not trying, it's not a like, well, let me find the place that hurts the most. It's kind of finding that balance in between. So we're going to transition down to using our thumbs just because that allows us to get into some places that the ball doesn't so much. But if you're loving rolling your feet, feel free to continue. Otherwise, you can stay with the foot you're on or go back to the first foot. You can, of course, work the base of your foot where we've been rolling, or if you'd like to take this time to get more up into the toes, that's a great option as well. Just kind of wiggling the toes around, massaging each individual toe. So you can use the ball a little bit on the toes, especially for kind of stretching and moving them, but to get into more of a actual massage, it's usually just easiest to use your fingers and wiggle the toe around in its base. Separate the toes, really working up the inside, like on both sides of the toes, and then the front and the back. I like to sometimes use my thumb, get just a little more into the big toe mound. I sometimes will take both thumbs, one on top of the other. Again, it's a smaller area, so the ball doesn't maybe get into that area as much. And then also getting a little bit of spreading of the foot. So you think about kind of spreading the metatarsals, spreading, creating some space, spreading the toes. Maybe even taking a finger in between each toe, much like you would if you wore toe spreaders. Create some space, massage right into the toe bed. It's all options. Again, just do what feels best to you. It's okay to kind of experiment a little bit. Maybe taking a little twisting through the foot. So I kind of hold one foot on the toes and one foot kind of on the center. You could hold one on the heel. Let's get some movement through those bigger cubed bones in the back, in front of the heel. And then maybe just a nice little warmth over the whole foot with your hands, creating some warmth. And then we'll switch on over to the other foot. And we'll move up into the calves after that. So again, getting a little more into the toes. Wiggling them around, massaging up and down each toe. Welcome, Evelyn. Maybe a little more attention into the toe mound. Behind the big toe. So that's spreading of the foot. I'm just guiding you through. Don't feel like you have to move at exactly the same pace. Especially if you go to barefoot conditioning. Maybe Rochelle has said something about massaging your feet. Oh, I like the way she led that. Getting in between the metatarsals a little bit. Just kind of some movement, some wiggling, some twisting. Take about another minute on this foot. Go back and forth to whatever might feel good to you. Place the fingers in between each toe. And just a general kind of up and down, really warm the foot up. And then we'll move up the leg, focusing first on the calf, and then we'll come around to the shin and into the ankles. So different ways that you can do this. You totally use your thumbs, right? And work your calves. Stick rollers can work really well for the calves, or the balls, and you can use these in different ways. So I'm just going to use my big ones here for a second, but I actually like the little ones better, but just to demo, right? I could bring 2 balls in the bag under the calf and roll here. Or if I wanted a little bit more intensity, right, a single ball. The thing I like about this is the single ball is I can really kind of go side to side. So I can cross fiber that calf. Oh, I can tell I'm really going to need to massage my calves tonight. The other thing I can do is, and again, you'd want a little bit smaller ball. So either the medium-sized ball of Joe Miller's balls or tennis balls will work in a bag, lacrosse balls. Put the balls in the bag and you can come into more of this child's pose position. So we get a little bit of a smash, bring the ball onto the calf, set back using your hamstring to mash or smash the ball into the calf, and then just some rocking side to side here. And then you can take some time moving the ball up and down the calf. So just move it around when it feels good to you. So it's not that one way is better than the other. It's really whatever works for you. I tend to do all of it because each way feels a little bit different. What I do like about this smash is I am getting a little bonus hamstring release as well. We'll get more into the hamstrings next week, but I do get a little hamstring, but it can be tough on the knee, and it can also be really intense on the calf if the calf is really tight. So do not feel like you have to do it this way. And then yes, again, I see some of you using the stick rollers. I think the stick rollers work really well on calves, and a rolling pin that you would roll out like pizza dough with, that can work in place of a stick roller. And then just using your hands, your thumbs work really well also. So we'll spend about 4 or 5 minutes on each calf, and then we'll spend about 4 or 5 minutes on the front of both legs, kind of the shin and the ankle. Do a little bit of that pin and hold. So I just pin it, and then even applying some pressure, smash, pin and hold. And breathe. Welcome, Kathleen. Again, just remembering that kind of scale 1 to 10. 9s and 10s are probably pretty intense and might feel like more than you want. So you can maybe change the position. So if I'm getting a 10 here, I might try it this way with a single ball or a double. And that might bring the intensity just to the right spot for me. So try a couple of different things. And you might do a little bit of everything. So I did some of the smashing. Now I'm just going to do some of the leg rolling. You can do it with 2 balls or 1. 1 will be a little more intense. But issues with the feet, plantar fascia, heel spurs, things like that, the calves and the shins play a big role. So if you're having some pain in the foot, it's very likely that it's from tightness coming up into the calf and the shin. So usually if you're having an area where you're like, oh, I really feel some tightness there, a good rule to follow is kind of roll not just the area, but roll above it and below it. If you're on your foot, you really can only go above it, not so much below it. And then of course, everything in our body is connected. So that's why over the course of a month, we try to get all the way through the body. In and hold. You don't have to connect the rolling in this way, right? You could roll quads and calves the same day. This is just a kind of nice format that seems to work us through the body. So I always start at the bottom and move our way up. Right, and then let's just kind of switch over to the other calf. So again, those same options, single or double ball here, or the smashing, or the stick rolling, whatever works best for you. I'm just going to try the same to do the same on each leg and see what that feels like. So going to the smashing. You don't have to do exactly the same thing on each leg because our body is different. What works best for you. Adding in pressure or taking away pressure based on what feels best for your body. Sometimes just holding still in one spot. Working your breath in and out. Usually the more intense sensation you feel, the more tight, the more scar tissue that might be present, the more the body needs it. But of course, remember, we're not trying to go as, to make it hurt as much as it can. It's finding that balance. So go ahead and do the other way for a few minutes. So when is a good time to roll? Really any time, right? It's not that there's any time you can't roll. Some people like to do it before they work out to kind of start to loosen things up, especially if ever gonna like do some distance running or something like that. It would be great to roll before. If I were gonna go in and like power lift, something like that, I would probably save the rolling for after because I don't necessarily want to like really loosen my muscles up so much before, say, powerlifting. Whereas if I'm going to go run like a long distance, a marathon, I do want to make sure that my muscles are loose. But really, anytime before or after exercise, in the middle of the day, whenever you can find the time that you'll do it is a great time to do it. And then if there's areas of your body that you notice need more attention, try to give them a little more attention. Nice. And then of course, if you want to stick with your calves, you can. Otherwise, we'll either the leg you're on or coming back to the first leg, we'll move a little bit more to the front of the leg. So again, I like a stick roller to get in on kind of the anterior tibialis, not so much on the inside, right? Because we get the big shin bone there. So that's going to be a little too intense. But the stick roller can work really well in that outer anterior tibialis or the ball. If you come and kind of set in this mermaid position, can bring one or both balls underneath. Working there, I can really come right down around the ankle some too. I don't really like to use the stick roller on the ankle, right? It's usually pretty bony in there. So a lot of times if I can use the ball, or if that's not really working for me, just using the thumb, working around the ankle. The gua shawing can work really well. So let me find the little gua sha tool right here somewhere. I don't know where it is. My daughter may have come and stolen it, which she does sometimes. So I'll just use my pretend gua sha tool. So I have a little gua sha tool that I show you that's made of jade, but this is actually just a wrench. And it's very much like the Graston tool that gets used. So that can work as well. Gua shaing is just short little scraping action. I like to do that around the ankle, or it's a little bonier, and you can do this really anywhere on your body. Usually when we're doing Graston, we scrape towards the heart. So you might be kind of going back and forth a little bit, but your big movement's kind of to the heart, because we're also really getting into the lymphatic system when we're massaging lightly in onto the surface of the skin. But I really like gua sha in the bonier areas. So down around the ankle, that works well. Or again, the fingers, because it's a little bit bonier. And I'm just kind of showing you all of it, and then you can work through all of it. To get into the posterior tibialis, it's the muscle that runs kind of underneath the shin bone, between kind of the main part of the calf and the shin bone. So really the best way to take that is to just take your thumb or thumbs, kind of come down, and it's almost like you're coming up under the shin bone. And it's oftentimes very, very tight. And it plays a very big role in our ankle tightness, because it comes down and runs kind of inside the Achilles tendon and through all the tendons. And then the tendons that come out and off of the posterior tibialis that come down and attach into the foot. And it's, you could use the ball. I just feel like it's such a tight little area that the thumb seems to work best. But I could take the ball, again, set in this opposite mermaid position. Kind of get in it here also. So it's more about just kind of your own flexibility and how it feels to set in various positions, whether you'd like to use the ball or a gua sha or the stick roller or just the thumbs. I sometimes will use the elbow too. If you've ever had sprained ankles, strained ankles, right, and we get a lot of scar tissue right down around the ankle joint. So just some moving with the thumb or that gua shaing. And actually gua sha the top of the foot too. Again, it's a lot bonier there. There can be some nerves in there. So just be light and careful. Use your thumbs on the foot also. I'll spend about 2 more minutes on this leg. So just kind of, trying some of those different methods, whatever works best for you tonight. And then we'll repeat on the second leg. If you do have long fingernails, this can be a little hard as well. So sometimes I use an elbow. If you have that flexibility to use the elbow. I find it gets tighter as I move down towards the ankle. It's pretty common. Even just some more light, using the palm of your hands, kind of massaging through the whole calf can be really just good and stimulating for the lymphatic system. But we want to be able to kind of grab, some light layers. We don't want to feel like everything's stuck together. That is our hope. Because when everything's looser, right, the blood vessels, everything can move through the tissues better. Nice. And then we'll just kind of repeat all that same stuff on the other leg. So those same options, of kind of using the stick roller on the meatier parts, using thumbs, using the ball here. And sometimes I'll use both balls at the same time, but I'm really just kind of pressing into one. I just have them both there so they balance better. It's always an option too. For gua shine. Let's find my gua sha now. These little wrenches, they actually work really well. Now, gua shine does work best if you put a little oil or lotion in the area. It just makes it a little bit smoother. I don't always do that, but I will say it does feel a little bit better. If I know I'm going to just be gua shining for a while on my own, I will. So I'm just going to feel that little crunchiness in there. Just trying to break up some of that scarred tissue, tight tissue. Elbows work also. So we have about 3 minutes left in this class. If you can come to Yin next, we have about a 5-minute break, but we will be sure to get some stretch in our feet, our calves, our shins, and then we'll have time to stretch other areas of our body as well. You can also simply, just kind of take the ball and use the ball a little bit like a stick roller. Remembering that it doesn't always have to be hard pressure, right? It's all kind of what we're looking for. So lighter pressure is going to get more of the surface. It also helps the lymphatics. Like the lymphatics massage is a lighter tissue massage. And then deeper, of course, gets down into the deeper tissues. So don't feel like you always have to push till you feel like pain going in there. Just want to keep the mobility. We'll get a little reddening of the skin, right? We're not trying to ever bruise ourselves, but every once in a while you will. And that's okay if you're just getting a bruise, here and there. But if you're really like turning yourself purple, use that as knowledge that you're putting way more tension and pressure in than you need to. Now, there are some people that like wear their massage bruises as, trophies. And if you're going to an expert and they're bruising you, that's between kind of you and them on what you feel. There's different schools of thought out there on that. But I view this as more self-care, injury recovery, injury prevention, but not trying to make an injury. Nice. So we officially have about 30 seconds or so left, but you can definitely continue to gua sha, roll, massage. If you're coming to Yin, right, you have that 5-minute break in between. So just take your time, enjoy, and I'll see some of you back in Yin in just a few moments or in other classes this week. Thank you all so much for joining me, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Bye, everybody. See some of you in just a minute.